What about Richmond in those days? Didn't have a whole lot of choices, I guess, in stores and restaurants.
You didn't. You didn't, but you had some wonderful choices. There weren't many, but there were some wonderful choices. I remember a little place on 2nd Street. It was called the Sweet Shop. And the Sweet Shop had the most wonderful bread. It was just comfort food. It was home-cooked food. And I think Ernie Durham's mother and father ran that. And I know that Miss Beatrice was there a lot. But it was wonderful food. And if you could walk down in the afternoon, you certainly would have a meal. And that meal probably should have taken care of you all day, but of course we didn't allow that. There was another place called the Golden Rule, and that was on 2nd or 3rd Street going up the hill. Luigi's Pizza was down across from, near where Jimmy John's is now. And it was the first pizza that I ever remember having, but they had wonderful pizza, and Luigi was there. He was always in the shop. When McDonald's came to town, we thought we were really uptown, when you did not have to go to Fayette County anymore to have McDonald's French fries. One of the places that there was a Frisch's on the north end of town, and if you were dating and the person had a car and you were driving around, you circled the Frisch's and then you went down Main Street, and then your next stop to circle on the south end of town was the old Colonel Drive-In. And it was known for its Colonel burgers and fried chicken and et cetera, et
So
cetera.
you did some cruising.
Oh yeah, you cruised. Oh yeah, yeah. It was all about cruising. Cruising with the window down and your arm out the side.
Guest on a previous program talked about bells. Do you remember?
I do remember Bales, and that was B-A-L-E-S. And Bales was the first place I've ever been in that you walked up to the front of the restaurant and you placed your order. It was like, I suppose they had menus, but I just don't remember the menus.
Kind of fast food before its time.
Yeah, you just kind of said what you wanted. And that was the first place. Also, I remember that you gave them your name. That's how they found you. They would come out, and yell, Jeanette, whatever. Well, it didn't take smart aleck freshmen or sophomores or whatever we happened to be long to figure out if there were 4 of us, one was Donald, one was Duck, one was Minnie, one was Mouse, and so it was Donald or Duck, Donald, and whatever. So we thought that was funny.
Well, it still is funny, I guess. If your sense of humor hasn't developed any more than mine. What about shopping? I guess Jetton Hall probably was.
Jetton Hall is the only place I believe that is still there. Mm-hmm. But up the street from Jetton Hall, there was a JCPenney's, mm-hmm. and it was a rather large one. Mm-hmm. It had a balcony. You shopped from the balcony and walked down. Next to JCPenney's, there was an Elders department store. And Elders was a nice, it was a nice, had a lot of clothing, but it also had some other items that you could buy there. In addition, back down on 2nd Street, there were a couple of women's dress shops. And I don't remember the names of those, but I know that there were a couple, as well as the Louise shop was just up from Jetton Hall a little bit, and she always had very nice clothing in there.
Of course, the theater on the corner, I guess.
The theater on the corner, but there was also a theater down across from where CVS Drugstore is now.
Oh,
there was a theater down there, and it burned while I was a student. It was a night kind of thing, so yeah. but it was a very live downtown area at the time. You just, a Western Auto. Do you remember Western Autos? Yeah. Just lots of things. And of course, there were service stations right in the middle of town. I think there where a Chinese place is now used to be a service station. And
about a year after you got here, Dr. Robert Martin came. And of course, then the campus started to change considerably.
It did.
Did you see some of those changes?
I saw many changes in that time. It was 4 short years, and I wish that I had a video camera going in my mind, because I don't know if Dr. O'Donnell knew that he was going to be retiring. I just don't know. That I wasn't privy to that. But I remember how excited people were when Dr. Martin was coming. He was a Frankfurt man, that was the terminology, but he was, more importantly at that time, he was an Eastern graduate, I think, and people were excited about him coming and sharing the reins. He was fun to watch. I was not, as a student, I was watching from afar. A little later, I got to be indoctrinated a little more into that watching part. But he started moving and shaking as soon as he got here, and it was also a time that higher education was moving and shaking, and it just appeared that he knew the places to go and the people to see and what we might need next, and it was a quick growth, but it had already started in 1960. When I was a sophomore, it had already started. You could just tell. There were roughly 1,000 people here in '59 when I came to school, and in 4 short years, it had tripled. The enrollment had tripled. And at that time, there were no extended campuses. It was here. They came here to school. And you had classes during the day, you had classes during the evening, you had classes on Saturday mornings. Saturday morning classes were just kind of a given.
I want you to just, as much as you can, reflect on your more than 25 years as EKU's Dean of Women and Dean of Student Life. What was most memorable and enjoyable about that, and how did students change over that time?
Well, without even thinking twice, the most enjoyable thing was, of course, working with students. They had the ability to always make your day interesting. It was never the same. You might think it was going to be the same because you were going to be doing maybe the same type of activities, but students made that much, much different. The thing I think that was so great about our students was we had a variety. We had students that, like myself, were first-generation college, and we had students that were far from it and could have gone any place that they wanted, but they chose to go here to school. And so we had a variety of students, and that's probably true of any campus, but at this point, I thought that was quite unique.